Oh, hi. I don't know ever when I'm quite on. I'm sorry, I positioned this a little differently. Um, Maybe that works better. I put my computer up on books and boxes and stuff. Yeah, I think that's better, right? Although it's awful close. Hi, welcome. Welcome to my place and my meanderings and yappings, and I didn't sleep last night, guys. Um, and I feel very discombobulated, and freaked. You know, I say this all the time, and I mean, you probably do too. You wake up and you think, okay, what horrors happened while I was, in my case, not sleeping, but maybe I hope in your case, sleeping. And this morning I woke up, and the first thing I see is a friend who gets up before me and dives into the horror. And she had just sent me off this thing that I knew nothing about and speculation about the close down of the airport and airspace around a major American city, El Paso, Texas. I and I thought, what the you know, WTF, 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 what the fuck? And of course, because we're being jerked and jerked and jerked by these fucks. Of course, in now I can tell you, or you know, you're ahead of me being jerked around too, that, oh, it's open again. Closed down for 10 days, no explanation. This is the country we live in now. That kind of shit never happened until these clowns, these scary clowns, took over. And so now we're all on this ride into hell with them. God. Excuse me, my bra strap. So, what I thought, and well, why bother speculating now that I think we sort of know what that was about, or so we are being told. Um, but I thought El Paso, that's practically Mexico. We're going to invade Mexico, or we're going to bomb cartels in Mexico, or there's going to be some, because that's what anything you could imagine is possible with this crowd. And we know that. So, what we're being told is the FAA closed down because it felt it could not guarantee the security of planes flying in to that airport because of crap going on at the nearby military, I guess, airport and that's affiliated with Fort Bliss. So the Department of Defense, DOD, has been doing something with lasers. Yeah, I mean, guys, we can't make it up. The one part of our government is fiddling around with lasers, taking down drones. And that activity was apparently scaring the shit out of the FAA in El Paso I guess their concern being that these idiots in the Department of Defense would end up taking down an American airliner or somebody flying, who knows? But that Fort Bliss was creating this unsafe situation. Who the hell knows? They've now decided they're opening back up. I don't know if that means at Fort Bliss they'll stop shooting drones down, and but we have a totally malfunctioning government. And even as I suggest that this is why this particular little jerk around happened in the last 12 hours, um, maybe that's not the real story. We don't know anything anymore. I just, uh, okay. Hey, I got a question. This is apropos of absolutely nothing, but I was watching the local news last night, and they were interviewing a state trooper about the fact that a lot of wrong way people going the wrong way on highways around here had created, like, I guess 3 major crashes in a day or 2 or week. I don't know, but unusual, and why, and this and that. Anyway, they're interviewing a state trooper. And this is a question I have had forever. And I remember once getting an answer that just didn't make any sense to me. But when you interview a state trooper, and I don't know if this is true with other state troopers, they're wearing their state trooper hat, and it comes with a strap, I guess, to keep the hat on. Now, as a child, had hats with straps to keep my hat on, and those straps went, under my chin. The state troopers, and you're ahead of me now, their strap is too short. It doesn't go anywhere near under their chins. It sits directly under their lower lip, resting on their chin. There is no way that helps keep their hat on. And it looks so fucking stupid and uncomfortable. And I just want to say, then take the fucking strap off, because that looks stupid and uncomfortable. Oh, I so love getting upset about stuff like that. The good old days. Yeah. I think it's coming back to me what I was told the reason was. The reason was that if in the course of doing their enforcement of the law duties, some malefactor they might be attempting to intercept, fighting to get away from them, might grab their strap around their neck and choke them with it. But if the strap was too short to get under their neck, the most they could do is rip their lower lip off, right? Is that the answer? What? one of you sent me um, a reminder about something nice going on in the world, and that's the monks walk for peace. I'm sure you're aware of it. It's been going on for months. These orange-clad monks making their way on foot from Texas to DC, where they arrived, I guess, today, on a march for peace. And they did it throughout all this horrible weather, the winter weather, the storms, and every once in a while I've seen, a video of them going through some place or other, and crowds greeting them. I think people have grabbed onto them and that quiet act of theirs, because, again, of wanting so desperately to escape back to a better time, to see good people, quiet people, peaceful people, and their dog. They have a dog. And so they have been balm for the soul. There was an accident, a car driving into, I don't think it was a malicious act, I don't know, somewhere, and injuring some of them, and in fact resulting in the amputation of one of the monks' legs. But they've kept on coming. So, yeah. Now, why can't the good people, like the quiet people, the people who would walk thousands of miles, just to remind people that we should love each other and get along, why don't they rule the world? Why is it always the worst? Because the worst lust for power and control, and the best don't. In fact, they're sort of put off by the idea of controlling others. So, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. God, I'm sorry. I am a muttering old lady today. I really, really am. It's as if, well, okay. You know what? I'll just stop, blah, 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 and I do have things here. I will share things that at the moment I saw them, I thought, oh, well, I should share that. But the thing is, they're often so, I'm going to avoid the horror for just a little bit longer. Okay. I can't. Did you see this thing? I remember sharing with you a few months ago that during the pandemic, the beaks of birds in somewhere in, like, I think Los Angeles got shorter. Yeah, got shorter. literally, their beaks started getting shorter because the urban areas had changed. People weren't in them. They were closed down, and the birds began eating different things than they usually. I can't quite remember, but it was like, what? Doesn't like that kind of an evolutionary thing take, hundreds of years? What do you mean within a year or two, birds' beaks started getting shorter? And I might be, slightly misremembering that, but they did. In response to the change in their environment. And a similar story popped up in the science section of the New York Times yesterday about dogs in Ukraine near the front lines. They're changing. And this has been a scientifically done study, collecting data from almost 1,000 dogs, and their bodies are changing. They are getting smaller, and their snouts are, if they were long, they're pulling in. It's hard to even imagine it. It says that the findings suggest that dogs on the front line are becoming more like wild dog species, such as wolves or dingoes. Many had reduced body mass. Even their ears took on a different shape, with now pointed ears more than floppy ears. And initially, all the scientists who are looking at this data says, well, it shows, literally an effort to adapt to a more dangerous environment, that conditions of war favor animals with certain characteristics like ears and smaller body mass that allows them to hide. But I gotta say, what? Oh, okay. I've been interested how some of my friends have gotten so into this missing Mrs. Guthrie thing, because it's coming at, and I know they're not alone, because media has glommed onto this. And I know true crime is like a genre that is considered entertainment, is an entertainment genre. And this fits right in. News as entertainment, that threshold we've already crossed. I watched it happen when I was even in the news business. But this is just, I hear people trying to solve it. It is bizarre. And then I just keep thinking of that poor woman, who knows? And I'm thinking how strange it is that a woman like Savannah Guthrie is now on the receiving end. She's getting the both sides of what happens with media. She's getting better police work being done on her behalf because she's a celebrity and people love her because they feel like they know her. So this is personal. But on the other hand, she and her family are now being exploited by media because this is true crime playing out with, yeah, really great stuff. And so she, who would know about that kind of, yeah, people in horrible personal straits, having to have the cameras in their faces and strangers watching them, looking at them, talking about them. You know, I once went to, well, when I was a news reporter at WTAE, TV, before they decided that I wasn't a great breaking news type person and let me do what I love doing, which is more human stuff or funny stuff or creative stuff, whatever. I was sent, along with a photographer, to someone's house somewhere in the North Hills. My assignment was that an airplane had gone down somewhere. And they wanted me to knock on the door of someone who I guess they knew had, yeah, one of their family members was on the plane that went down. And I was supposed to see if you can get some sound. Well, I remember pulling up to the house and I said to the photographer, I can't. I won't. I'm not gonna. And he said, but there, blah, 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 blah. I said, I'm not going to, okay? Sticking microphones in traumatized people's faces is a thing I never, ever could do. I told the newsroom, no one answered. I don't know. Okay. I want to share this with you. It's disquieting, but what the hell isn't? What the fuck is in the Epstein files? How is that not all going to come out? That's not what I was going to say, but I just saw his name. And if you don't think there's something rotten about us as a country, all you have to do is, again, look at what the files that are already out, how other countries are reacting. Heads are rolling. Governments could be falling. And this is with people who didn't do half of what we suspect the President of the United States and cabinet members of the United States and hugely powerful, rich people in the United States did. And as I said yesterday, and the only one in jail is a woman here who should be in jail. You gotta wonder. And then this information coming out that Trump called the chief of police of Palm Beach? I'm not quite clear what year that was, but he called him, the chief of police told the FBI, quote, that Trump said, "Thank goodness you are stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." This is a chief of police quoting Donald Trump. Went on to say that they should look into Ghislaine Maxwell as well, because according to the chief of police, Trump said she is evil. Now, what do you think that was about? Trump trying to get ahead? Looking like he was, I don't know, but it doesn't mesh with stuff he has said after. Big shock. Because you gotta wonder how bad it is. So it says here that in the FBI's written account of the interview with the chief of police, Trump is depicted as someone eager to relay to the police his concerns about Epstein. Oh, yeah. Then in 2019, when Epstein is arrested again, Trump is asked, and Trump's the president, he's asked by reporters, did you ever have any suspicions that Mr. Epstein was molesting young women? The president replied, no, I had no idea. I didn't have no idea. That's a double negative. And that means he did have an idea. He's always giving himself away. But he obviously had an idea, because he said he eagerly was trying to say, man, there's stuff going on there. It's evil. And then years later, no, I didn't. What? No, I didn't know anything about it. What? Okay, so I want to okay, so the call to the chief of police was 2006 when he was arrested the first time. Yeah, he was trying, to get on the right side of that one. He was worried then. And then, as liars so often do, they forget what they said. You know, if you lie, you got to keep track of them. And guy who lies as much as he does, there's no way he can keep track of it. So he's not, wow, whatever. So I read something that is, and I want to share it with you because, again, like with the shutdown of the El Paso Airport, no reason given. What it drives home is so much stuff, crap, unprecedented crap, illegal, unprecedented crap, incompetent, illegal, all of it that is happening at a rate that no one can keep up with. It leads us either, it doesn't, if it's the Epstein files, if it's what, we don't know. And our media have been decimated at a time when they're needed more than ever. We don't know anything that we should. What's ICE really up to? What's the plan with the elections? Why did they grab those papers out of Fulton County? All of this stuff, why do they want the voting records? What are we in for regarding the next election? We can speculate. David French was speculating the other day. And he said, one thing I know is Trump is more dangerous now than he has ever been. That is true. And increasingly, as things close in, he will become more and more dangerous. A dangerous narcissist with the powers at his fingertips that he has and the self-control that he has, which is none, is extraordinarily dangerous. But French goes on to remind us that this administration is defying the courts at a frequency that boggles the mind. So even if Trump appointed judges, continue their courageous performance of pushing back, blocking efforts, French says, in the end, what's that going to do? Because we now know that the Trump administration has no problem not following court orders. So a president who doesn't care about the law, a president who commands an obsequious Congress and is supported by a radicalized base of tens of millions of idiots who believe his lies, obviously represents a real threat, to us and to our next election. He says, I fear that millions of citizens are still way, way, way too complacent and are not facing the peril that we are heading into. Okay, so here's this thing I have been wanting to. Milton says, don't forget to tune into Pam Bondi's testimony. Oh, God. Before the House Oversight Committee after the show. Well, if it bears any resemblance to the ICE guy's testimony, Lyons, yesterday, I won't have the stomach for it. I won't have the stomach for it. Timothy, how did you know that the calla lilies are in bloom is like just one of those Katharine Hepburn, the calla lilies are in bloom. Why are you saying that? It's from an old movie, black and white movie called Stage Door. And a young Katharine Hepburn. I don't know why. This goes back to my being in New York studying acting. That first, the calla lilies are in bloom again. Such a strange flower. And now I place them here in memory of something that has died. Timothy is saying, American democracy. The calla lilies are in bloom. Oh, my calla lilies and calla lilies. Yeah, I can't live without flowers, especially in the winter. I have to bring them into the house, have to. So there's this thing I want to share with you, because why should I be one of the few people who read this and freaked? Because it is something that is going on that I had never seen reported before. And it's about how the rich are controlling the world and entire governments. And Trump is part of that circle, as are all the tech bros. And this is just a little slice that somebody named Jean Guerrero wrote. And I'm not going to get totally into it because it gets so sort of complicated that my head started hurting. But stay with me a little bit on this. Last week, Honduras inaugurated a new president. Now, this is a person who Trump wanted to win. And he did everything in his power to get this guy to win. Interestingly, the other powerful people that wanted this guy, who is now the president of Honduras, to win, were the notorious MS-13 gang that are very active in Honduras. Okay. So here's Trump aligned with MS-13 in wanting the guy that they got in to be the people of Honduras. Nah. He's the president. Trump urged Hondurans to vote for this guy days before MS-13 gang members posing as election observers threatened to kill anyone who didn't. Trump warned Hondurans that there would be hell to pay. This gets lost. I remember reading a few things about it, but it gets lost in all the insanity. So just pulling that out, and President of the United States in alliance with some really bad guys, threatening the voters of another country that they'll be held to pay if they don't put their man in. The president, the new president, is known and is associated with the party that has known ties to the drug running cartels. This is okay, and this is the same Trump who, yeah, is bombing boats supposedly to save us from drug-running cartels. Here he is in alliance with those same people. Okay, I'm just gonna read this one little part. The story of how Trump came to intervene in Honduran politics and align himself with a foreign terrorist organization is essential for understanding the world he is trying to build. He has been meddling in multiple elections in Latin America. We know Venezuela. He is now threatening to arrest the president of Colombia on suspicion of drug trafficking and to bomb cartels in Mexico. That's what I first thought of when the El Paso thing happened earlier today. His actions may seem contradictory, but, and here's the blowing you away thing, but there is a coherent logic to them. They expand, these actions expand territorial power for a class of elites from around the world, the rich guys, same guys who were in the Epstein files, that this class of elites truly believes they're above the law because, well, we're seeing it, okay? And in December, you'll remember that Trump pardoned the former Honduran president who was in jail here, right? He was sentenced to 45 years in prison in what was the U.S. Department of Justice called one of the largest and most violent drug trafficking conspiracies in the world. So Honduras is not, he got that guy out, pardoned him, and a similar guy he strong-armed into office. So this guy says, here's what's going on. Trump's real motivations are hidden in plain sight. And here's where it gets head exploding scary. So stay with me. Not long after he got inaugurated in January, a conservative think tank, the conservative think tank, the Claremont Institute, it's a bunch of fucking fascists. The Claremont Institute published the call for him to pardon the drug-running president that was in jail. And look who else was on him to do it. Roger Stone, Trump's former pal and also felon. They said it would, to do this, get him out, you pardon him, because it will re-empower the party he was in and influence the election. So that guy was pardoned as part of the effort to get the Honduran president, the new one, in office. Why? Here it is. The goal, And it's Stone who was just out front about it. The goal is to save a place called Prospera, Prospera. That is a city in Honduras, on an island of Honduras. But it's a strange place because it is a semi-autonomous city. What's that? Prospera was backed by the president, the former president who Trump pardoned, was backed by Trumpian tech bros, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen. These are the worst of the worst. These are ones also that Epstein refers to in his emails, okay? This is that same crowd. Also caring about Prospera are big corporations that pay incredibly low taxes to Honduras. So it turns out this entire semi-autonomous city was built in what's called, who knew, a special economic zone. And guys, special economic zones are multiplying all over the world. Did you ever hear of it? Special economic zones in various countries all share certain things. They are free of the kind of environmental regulations, labor regulations, standards, free from certain taxes. In fact, if you look at Trump's Gaza peace plan, he wants to make Gaza into one of these zones. This is where the rich plunder. Proponents of the zones claim they create prosperity. Yeah. People who are a little more tuned in say, no, that's the excuse they use to funnel a lot of state money, money that should belong to the people, into private hands. Globally, there are more than 5,400 special economic zones, many of which have become home to these startup cities like Prospera. They are corporate-led jurisdictions within countries with their own laws. Understand, we are heading, the world they want is where nation states are not the be-all and end-all. They're sort of they comply with these elites. I'll just read one more little thing to you. Trump, okay, so this kind of stuff, people have been whispering, all these guys in Trump's ear about this stuff for a long time, and to bring this to the United States. And he's talked about it, and he's even said, well, we can call them freedom cities. Mr. Trump has publicly advocated for them, So this guy just wants to say, for all his talk about America first and making America great, Trump isn't a nationalist. He's in league with these transnational oligarchs. And they lack allegiance to any nation state. So while he distracts his base and us with the chaos and the anti-immigration rhetoric, he is laying the groundwork for the disenfranchisement of working people across the hemisphere. Now, I know that's a lot and it seems very dark, but this was published in the New York Times. So I share it, not to ruin your day, but to remind you that we're being had and that we're being distracted constantly. And these guys are masters of distraction. So Richard says they are playing three-dimensional world chess and we are the pawns. Oh yeah, I mean, we are, to quote Bob Dylan, we're only pawns in their game. Yeah. So look it up if you want. The guy's name is Jean, Jean, Jean Guerrero, Gue. It gets into a whole lot more stuff that just got so, I mean, my head really started blowing up. So let me share the stories of two women with you, okay? I might not get to both. One I came across, it's Black History Month. Why'd they pick the shortest month of the year for Black History Month? Well, as you know, I guess this administration is the first one that has done nothing for Black History Month except try to erase as many Black people as they can. But someone posted this, and I just wanted to share it with you because this is a woman we all should know about, kids should learn about. And the thing is, she's from here, she's raised in McKees Rocks, Rankin area. And she's now gone. She lived a long life. But how many of you know the name Dorothy Height? Like height. Height. A Black woman. She was one of the few women that sat with the big guys. Martin Luther King, John Lewis. There was this whole crowd up there, and she was there with them. But like so many women, and especially Black women, you get erased from history. The sexism was so prevalent that you don't get noted. She was a friend of Eleanor Roosevelt's. I just want to give you I want to tell you about her. I remember reading about her years ago, but then, yeah, it slipped out of my head. She is credited as the first leader in the civil rights movement to point out inequality for women, and that women and minorities needed to be seen as a whole. She ended up leading all kinds of organizations. She was the president of the National Council of Negro Women for 40 years. She helped plan the march on Washington. She was there. Of course, she was not asked to speak. She was 5 years old when her family moved to Rankin. And she was educated there in racially integrated schools. She was very active in the YWCA her entire life, but she started there in Rankin. And she went to the Y in downtown Pittsburgh once and was stunned to discover she was not allowed in the swimming pool. That was in the 1920s, 1920. She ended up being part of the YWCA and integrated all of it, all the way through. One of the reasons the Y is such a strong civil rights group is because Dorothy Height. She graduated from Rankin High School in 1929 and full scholarship to Barnard College, but was denied. No, she was accepted to Barnard. That's Columbia University. But then she got there and they saw she was Black. And they wouldn't let her in. On and on and on and on. But I'll just cut. President Clinton, on her 90th birthday, gave her the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She was recognized by Barnard for her achievements. President Obama called her the godmother of the civil rights movement and a hero to so many. He also spoke at her funeral. Did you know that name? Dorothy Height. She was a wondrous piece of work. And also known for her hats. She wore the most extraordinary hats. And I believe they are on display somewhere as like a treasured thing of hats. There's a picture of her that I saw recently, and her hat is fucking amazing. Why isn't there a statue of her here? You know, I'm thinking of that Walk of Fame we now have. She belongs on it, but nobody knows the name. So look her up. Amazing woman. Amazing. There's no way to like tell you all the things she did in her life. Just mind blowing. Dorothy Height. Okay. Well, I think that's it. And thank you for joining me. The calla lilies are in blue. I'll be back tomorrow, and please, I hope I'll get some sleep. Just please. You too.